Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're cracking open a case file that is literally the stuff of nightmares. You know that ultimate life goal, right? Buying that gorgeous, secluded mountain dream home? Well, we're going to look at how that exact dream seamlessly morphed into an inescapable psychological and supernatural trap. We're going to walk through the timeline of a haunting so intense, one that blurs the line between nightmares and reality so completely, you might actually start questioning your own surroundings by the end of this.
Just listen to this warning for a second. This house is cursed. A Piscicini lives here, trapping people in their dreams to steal their lives. I mean, wow, that was delivered by a mysterious old man, and it's basically the linchpin for this entire bizarre ordeal we're about to unpack. It sets this tone of absolute, inescapable dread, doesn't it? But to really grasp the sheer terror behind that warning, we need to rewind a bit. Let's go back to the beginning.
Section 1. The Mountain Dream House.
So, here's the setup. A young couple, Amita and Ailesh, had just hit the jackpot. Thanks to a new online business, they could work from anywhere. So they chased the dream. They bought this beautiful, bright yellow house, surrounded by lush forests, towering trees, and vibrant flowers, out in a remote village in Himachal Pradesh. On paper, absolute paradise. But man, their first impressions were seriously jarring. While the outside was bathed in gorgeous sunlight, the second Amita opened the front door, boom! She was hit with this intense, sickening stench of decay. They brushed it off at first, figuring the place had just been closed up for years. But the lighting? That was just bizarre. Even in broad daylight, the inside of the house held on to this heavy, mysterious darkness. They literally had to light candles and force the electricity on just to see what they were doing.
And let me tell you, their dream life deteriorated fast. Like within the very first 24 hours fast. Day 1 was mostly normal, just cleaning and setting up. But nightfall? That's when things took a highly unnatural turn. Let's zoom in on 2 deeply disturbing incidents from that very first night.
Okay, so Amita heads to the kitchen to whip up their first dinner. She starts chopping these fresh-looking vegetables. But, horror movie moment here, the veggies were completely rotting from the inside out. Worse, black bugs just started pouring out of the core of the produce. Absolutely vile, right? Thoroughly disgusted and just completely exhausted from moving, they skipped dinner entirely, ate some plain bread and butter, and went straight to bed.
Which brings us to 4:30 in the morning. Amita wakes up. Ailesh is gone. She goes looking for him and finds him outside in the garden, but he's not just getting some fresh air. He is out there with a shovel, digging a massive, deep grave in the dirt. And the freakiest part? He's doing it with this deeply eerie, disturbing smile plastered on his face. When Amita frantically calls his name, he snaps out of it. Completely confused, he has zero memory of how he got out there or why he was literally digging a grave. Naturally, they write it off as an extreme bout of sleepwalking. What else are you going to do, right?
But you have to ask, was it all just a bad dream, or was the nightmare actually real? Amita desperately wanted to believe it was just sleepwalking. And honestly, the next day passed normally, completely lulling them into a false sense of security. But as the sun set on their second night in that house, the boundary between the waking world and their nightmares was about to completely shatter.
Section 2, Secrets of the Basement.
Night 2 is where things get aggressive. Amita is suddenly jolted awake by this horrific sound. It sounded exactly like a heavy piece of furniture, like a chair, being violently scraped back and forth across the floor directly underneath her. Terrified, she creeps downstairs. Following the noise, she spots something she hadn't noticed before, a hidden door tucked away under the staircase. She opens it and steps down into this pitch-black, incredibly dusty basement that just reeks of rotting herbs.
Down in that basement, lit by just a dim red lantern, she finds Ailesh. He's sitting in a rocking chair, staring intensely at a black bottle. But guys, he is not alone. Standing right behind him is this demonic black shadow woman with long, stringy hair and completely hollow white eyes. When Amita calls out to him, Ailesh stands up. But he moves with this sickening physical crack. His pupils are entirely gone, and he's just glaring at her with pure, unadulterated rage. And then, the horrific shadow woman instantly teleports right in front of Amita, violently choking her until everything goes black.
Now here is where things get really twisty. While unconscious, Amita dreams she's out in that dark garden, digging that exact same grave with her bare hands, digging until her nails break and bleed. Suddenly, she snaps awake. She's safe in her own bed. Just a really intense nightmare, right? Well, then she looks down. Her actual physical hands are covered in real dirt and dried blood. She looks out the window, and there's Eilish, crying on the ground, frantically filling in the hole, before he just stops and acts like nothing even happened. The supernatural world wasn't just scaring them, it was leaving literal physical scars.
Section 3, reality blurs into nightmares. So Amita runs outside to confront Eilesh, but this intense wave of freezing nausea just forces her back indoors. And the second she crosses that threshold, a massive sensory attack hits her. That stench of rotting meat and burning herbs completely takes over the air. Every single door and window in the house violently slams shut and locks itself. All the light bulbs shatter at the exact same time. The walls start echoing with these horrific crying sounds, and thick black blood literally starts pooling on the floor. She's completely claustrophobically trapped. And then we hit the absolute peak of this waking nightmare. Eilesh starts walking toward her, but his eyes are completely white again, and he's holding a heavy, rusty axe that's dripping with black blood. Floating directly behind him is the spirit of a man with a rotting face and pitch-black eyes. Eilesh screams in this terrifying demonic voice that no one will survive. Amita's backing away in sheer terror, and then she bumps into something. You guessed it, it's the Shadow Woman from the basement. Once again, the entity chokes her out, dragging her right back into the darkness. So how many times can you wake up before you realize you're still trapped? Because guess what? Amita's eyes snap open again. It's 3 a.m. She's back in bed. No bloody marks on her hands. Eilesh is sleeping peacefully right beside her, and the house is dead silent. It's enough to drive anyone crazy.
Desperate to prove she hasn't completely lost her mind, Amita creeps out of bed to investigate. She heads downstairs, just to check if the basement was part of the nightmare or if it's actually real. Well, it's real. The hidden door is right there. She opens it, walks down into the dusty dark, and finds the exact same room, smelling of the exact same rotten herbs, complete with the creepy rocking chair.
While she's standing down in that very real basement, she hears a massive crash from the bedroom upstairs. She sprints up there and finds Eilesh violently levitating high above the bed, thrashing around like he's bound by invisible chains. She's screaming for help, trying to call the villagers, but of course, nobody answers. Suddenly, Eilesh's body goes completely rigid and crashes to the floor. Amita rushes over to help him, but he's gone. Lying there in his place is the Shadow Woman, looking more feral than ever. And for the final time, she lunges, choking Amita until her breathing stops completely.
Section 4, the Piशाccini's Curse.
The morning finally arrives, but the nightmare is far from over. Eilesh wakes up to a beautiful sunny day, but Amita, she will not wake up. She's trapped in this unshakable sleep. Suddenly, she starts having severe seizures. Panicked, Eilesh rushes her to a local clinic. The doctor there is completely baffled. Her medical reports look entirely normal, yet her heart is racing at a terrifying, dangerous speed. Realizing she's fading fast, Eilesh rushes her to a larger city hospital, where she officially slips into a deep, unresponsive coma. Her physical body was quite literally shutting down from the supernatural trauma.
So what exactly were they dealing with? Well, while packing up some belongings back at the house, Eilesh runs into an old man who reveals the horrible truth. The house is haunted by a Pishaccini. In the local mythology, this is a flesh-eating demonic entity that preys on victims by trapping them in a continuous loop of their own nightmares. It slowly siphons away their life force, all while their physical bodies waste away in a coma.
This old man breaks down the dark history of the property for Eilesh. The house is fundamentally cursed because it was built directly over the buried corpses of the Pishaccini's past victims. It essentially acts as a supernatural battery, occupied by the lost souls of everyone whose lives were stolen while they slept. And he urgently, desperately warns Eilesh to evacuate immediately.
But here is the truly chilling twist of this whole case file. As the old man finishes delivering his warning, he turns to walk back toward the forest. Eilesh calls out to thank him, but right before his very eyes, the old man just vanishes into thin air. He wasn't some helpful local neighbor. He was just another ghost, a lost soul whose dreams and life had been stolen by the Pishaccini, just trying to save the next victims from his fate.
Fully understanding the gravity of the situation now, Eilesh doesn't hesitate for a second. He immediately evacuates the property. Knowing that modern medicine can't fight a spiritual attack, he arranges a massive protective puja, a spiritual prayer ritual, specifically dedicated to Amita's health. And guess what? The spiritual intervention actually works. A few days later, Amita miraculously awakens from her coma. She's weeping as she recalls the utter loneliness and sheer terror of being trapped inside that dream house, entirely within her own mind.
They survived, thank goodness, but the trauma of that house, that's going to linger forever. And it leaves us with this final, incredibly unsettling thought to close out today's explainer. If you finally bought your absolute dream house, only to realize it was using your own mind as a lock and your nightmares as the key, how would you ever truly know you've escaped? Just keep that in mind the next time you wake up from a bad dream. Thanks for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.